was trying to figure out what to do with Joseph this week. You can ask my secretary. We had a discussion. She takes the brunt of my frustrations during the week when I'm trying to put a sermon together, and I come to her to let her know just how dumb I really am. And she always says, I know.
Lying is still
She's still
a
on
sin.
probation. But this week has been a challenge for me because I really wanted to talk about the VBS. And the theme of it is the life of Joseph. And I'll be honest with you, I got so caught up in so many applications that I thought there was absolutely no way I can do just one lesson and do it justice. I can't. So I thought, let's just kind of work through this together. Let's just set the scene for tonight just by being reminded, Genesis 37, you find the beginning of this story of Joseph. And most of you know the story, man. It's this amazing drama. Imagine what it's like to be Joseph, raised in a household where 4 mamas. 4! His daddy was married to 4 different women at the same time. And the household wasn't a household that everybody got along in. Imagine being raised in that. Maybe you can relate to it. Maybe you were raised in a household like that, where there were multiple moms or multiple dads, not necessarily married at the same time, but through the course of life, there were marriage, divorces, remarriages. You had multiple Christmases, which wasn't really a bad deal, and you had all these things going on. And you had the rivalries happening between your own siblings or then your brother-in-laws or sisters-in-laws. You understand what it's like to be raised, some of you, in a household that's just torn apart. Well, that's Joseph. He'd be a great story for you to read. And Joseph then, he compounds the problem, not really, I don't think, on purpose, because he becomes his father's favorite. And he has 11 other brothers, and he doesn't like being the favorite, I wouldn't think, would you? At least not what you get by being the favorite, all that ridicule and hatred. So his brothers hate him, and then his dad, he makes him just a really multicolored coat, looks really fancy, and so he wears it, and it makes him stand out like, I am the father's favorite, and his brothers hate him even more. And then he has these dreams from God. God blesses Joseph with these dreams, and he sees in these dreams that he, Joseph, is going to be really powerful someday, and that his whole family is going to bow down before him. And then he tells his family. And guess what? They didn't like it. His brothers hated him even more. So one day Joseph is heading out to the fields to check on his 11 brothers. They see him a long way off, and they think to themselves, we are going to kill this joker. And so he approaches. You saw it on the film. Wasn't that well done? and they take him, and then, the cooler head prevails. And let's not kill him. Let's just toss him in this pit. Let's sell him into slavery. So they toss him into the pit. And then they sell him into slavery. Joseph becomes an Egyptian. Now, tell me, what has he done wrong so far in the story? Nothing. But listen to God, follow God, and tell people what God is saying. That's all he's doing wrong. And that's not wrong at all. And as a result, he gets hated by his brothers, tossed into a pit, sold into slavery. He ends up in Potiphar's house, who is this captain of the army. And then he works his way up. Not once do we see Joseph complaining. He works his way up to become this great and mighty servant of Potiphar. And then Potiphar's wife, she lies about him. And he ends up getting tossed in prison, falsely accused, and now he's in prison. Hated by his brothers, tossed into a pit, sold into slavery, lied about, thrown into prison, and that's life, following God and telling people what God has to say. It doesn't sound good at all, does it? Well, you know what Joseph does in prison? Has a positive attitude. Well, now that I'm in prison, I'll be the best prisoner I can be. Works his way up the ranks again. A couple of his co-prisoners, they have these dreams that they can't quite figure out. Joseph interprets them for them. These prisoners get out. One dies, one lives. One talks to the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh then realizes that he's got some dreams that he can't interpret. Give me Joseph. Joseph comes to the Pharaoh and interprets the dreams of the Pharaoh. And then the Pharaoh makes Joseph in charge of all the food in all the land. Second in control. guess what I'm trying to say is that God allowed Joseph to face all these difficult times to get him to a place exactly where God wanted him to be. Amen. So that he could feed the world and keep the world from starving to death. Because Joseph knew that there was going to be a famine someday, 7 years, there would be a famine. So let's build up a good stockpile of food while the times are good. And then when the times go bad, we'll have this food to feed the world. He literally saved the world. And God had to lead him through the hatred and the pit, slavery, prison, to get to that point in his life. Now I'm going to turn this on you. I truly believe every single one of you has spent your whole life to get right now to where you are today. God has allowed you to go through your pits, your prisons, your hatred moments, people that didn't like you, and your wonderful moments, all to get you to where you are right now today with a purpose. And the purpose of every single person in this room is to feed a starving world. Not with physical food, although we need to offer that to those that are in need. There's a world starving spiritually. And we have the food of truth. We've got the food that can satisfy the hungry. Have any of you ever really gone hungry? Have you fasted for a while? A diet that calls you not to eat? You know what that's like, right? Yeah, she's going, yeah, I know what that's like. And then the stomach starts to burn and yearn and ache and, oh, I can't make it anymore. Maybe some other circumstances led you just not to eat for a while. You know what it's like to be hungry, right? Imagine to be starving to death. Imagine those pictures we see of those kids in Ethiopia that have nothing but ribs and skin. Imagine that kind of hunger. Church, that's the picture of people spiritually throughout the world. They're starving. And we have been placed here right now by God to go through all that we've gone through so that we have, through the good times, compiled this stockpile of spiritual food to then take out and feed those that are hungry. And today we have a special opportunity to begin that journey. VBS is a special opportunity to begin that journey because out of all the people starving in this world, we've got so many kids who are hungry, spiritually. Think of the world that most of the kids that we know that aren't connected to us in the church, think of the kids in your neighborhood, the kids that you see walking in the streets, the kids with their hats all turned in funny directions, listening to music that you would never listen to, saying things that you would never say. You can picture them, can't you? You see them in Walmart, you see them in Kmart, you see them walking down your street. They're just wandering, seemingly aimlessly, just looking for something to do. And it's all because their soul is in need of food. And we have it for them.